Okay, so you're prepping for an interview as import-export manager
Hmm.
for electronic and telecommunications equipment.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of a mouthful, but it's an exciting field. Think global connections,
Hmm.
international regulations, and all those devices everybody wants.
It really is a huge field, and it's only getting bigger.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got a whole stack of resources from RoleCatcher to help us deep dive into this interview prep.
Yeah, and they have a lot of great information.
So ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so one of the things that RoleCatcher offers that's really interesting is AI-powered
Oh,
tools.
yeah, I've heard about that.
Like they can analyze job descriptions and help you tailor your resume and cover letter.
Oh, wow.
So you're not just sending out these generic applications, right? You're really
We're
targeting,
past the robots, right?
yeah, getting past those automated systems and right in front of an actual human.
That's really cool.
And then they also have this network management tool.
Oh, I like that.
Oh. Where you can organize your contacts and link them to job applications.
So you don't have to have like a million spreadsheets going at the same time.
Exactly. It's like a command center for your job search.
I love that idea.
But let's dive into some actual interview questions.
Rope.
I think this would be a good way to approach this deep dive is I'll try to answer them as if I was in the hot seat and you can be the interviewer
I like that.
and throw some follow-up questions at me.
Okay, I can grill you a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Put you on the spot.
All right, so the first question is, describe your previous experience in import and export management.
Okay,
So,
take a deep breath.
okay, deep breath. In my previous role at, let's just say, XYZ company,
Mm.
I was responsible for managing the entire import-export process for a range of electronic components.
Okay.
I coordinated with suppliers in Asia, handled all the necessary documentation for customs clearance, and ensured timely delivery to our manufacturing facilities in Europe.
Okay, that's good. But can you give me a specific example of a challenge you faced and how you overcame it?
Oh, good question. Once we had a major shipment of microchips held up in customs due to some labeling discrepancies.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and so I immediately contacted our customs broker and worked closely with them to provide the necessary documentation and clarify the situation.
Okay.
It was a stressful situation, but we managed to get the shipment released within 48 hours. So it minimized the impact on our production schedule.
So you really had to think on your feet and you were able to be communicative.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so you're doing really well.
Oh,
You ready for the next one?
big enough.
Okay. What are the key factors to consider when managing international trade in electronic and telecommunications equipment and parts?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I think you need to have a deep understanding of customs regulations and trade agreements.
Yes.
These can be so complex and they're constantly changing. So
Yeah.
staying updated is crucial.
Absolutely. So can you give me an example of how these regulations might impact your work?
Sure. Let's say you're importing smartphones from China. You need to be aware of the applicable tariffs, import duties, and any specific labeling requirements for that particular product.
Yeah.
You also need to make sure that the devices comply with safety and quality standards in the destination country, right?
Right, because if you don't, what could happen?
Well, it could result in costly delays or even rejection of the shipment.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you have to be very detail-oriented.
Very detail-oriented.
Okay, so what else would you say is crucial in this role?
I think logistics is huge.
Okay.
Ensuring smooth transportation of delicate, electronic equipment requires careful planning,
Yes.
coordination with freight forwarders,
Mm-hmm.
shipping companies, insurance providers. You need to choose the right mode of transport, whether it's air, sea, or land, and think about, the cost, the speed, and the security.
Wow, there's a lot to think about. And that's not even the end of it, right? Like,
Yep.
given that global supply chains are so complex, how do you stay on top of potential risks?
I think risk management is very important. So you need to identify potential issues like natural disasters,
Mhm.
political instability, even supplier bankruptcy,
Yeah.
and develop those contingency plans
Yeah.
to mitigate those risks.
Okay, can you give me an example?
For example, you might consider diversifying your supplier base
Oh, I see.
or having alternative shipping routes.
In case something happens?
Right.
Okay.
It's a
So
lot to think about.
it is.
But before we move on to the next question, I want to talk a little bit about how RoleCatcher can actually help craft strong answers.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
So their AI can analyze your responses to interview questions
Wow.
and provide personalized feedback.
Oh, cool.
So it can pinpoint areas where you can improve clarity,
Oh.
add specific examples, or incorporate those industry keywords that we talked about.
Oh, that's great.
It can even suggest alternative phrasings to make your answers more impactful.
Wow, it's like having a coach in your pocket.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you can really practice and refine your answers and be super confident going into that interview.
That's amazing. So you ready for another question?
Yes, bring it on.
All right, let's see how you handle this one. How do you manage risk in international trade?
So I believe in a proactive approach with risk management.
Okay.
It starts with identifying those potential risks.
Okay.
This could involve anything from political instability in a sourcing country to natural disasters disrupting shipping routes.
Right.
And once you've identified those risks, you develop mitigation plans.
Okay, can you give me an example of that?
Sure. You might secure insurance for your shipments, explore alternative transportation options, or even diversify your supplier base so you're not relying on a single source.
Okay, I like how you've outlined a structured approach.
Okay.
But can you give me a specific example of a time you had to manage a risk?
Sure. In my previous role, we relied heavily on a supplier in a region that was prone to earthquakes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so to mitigate that risk of supply chain disruption, we established a secondary supplier in a different location.
Oh.
And then when an earthquake did strike, we were able to quickly shift production to that secondary supplier, and it really minimized the impact.
Wow, so you were really prepared.
Yeah.
You were already a step ahead.
You have to be.
Okay, I'm loving your answers.
Okay, great.
All right, let's move on to one that assesses your negotiation skills. How do you negotiate favorable terms with suppliers and customers?
Okay, so for me, negotiation starts with preparation.
Okay.
Thoroughly research the market, understand the other party's needs and priorities,
Yeah.
and come to the table with a clear understanding of my own goals and limits.
Okay, so what happens when those goals clash with the other party's demands?
Right. Well, I believe in finding common ground. You know,
Okay.
it's not about winning or losing.
Yeah.
It's about reaching a mutually beneficial agreement.
Right.
So I try to listen, actively understand their perspective, and look for those creative solutions that address both parties' concerns.
That's a great approach. Do you have an example?
Yeah, we were negotiating a major contract with a new supplier for electronic components, and their initial pricing was higher than our budget allowed.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So instead of just walking away, I explored alternative options like longer-term contracts, bulk discounts, and even the possibility of partnering on joint marketing initiatives
Okay.
to increase sales volume,
Yeah.
And so we eventually reached an agreement that met both our pricing needs and their desire for a strong partnership.
So it was a win-win.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, I think you're ready for one more before we move on.
Okay, hit me.
How do you manage multiple projects simultaneously?
Okay, so this is where my organizational skills really come into play.
Okay.
I rely heavily on project management methodologies, like I break down large projects into smaller manageable tasks.
Okay.
I set clear deadlines and use tools like spreadsheets and project management software to track progress.
So you stay organized?
Yeah. I also believe in prioritizing tasks based on urgency and importance.
That's a good idea.
So I'm always focusing on the most critical items first.
Can you give me an example of a time when you successfully juggled multiple demanding projects?
Sure. In my previous role, I was responsible for managing the import of components for 3 different product launches, all with tight deadlines and complex logistics.
Wow.
Yeah, so I used a combination of project management software, regular team meetings, and clear communication channels to keep everyone on track.
Right.
We were able to launch all 3 products on schedule and within budget, which
Right.
was a major accomplishment.
Wow, that is impressive.
Yes,
You're a master multitasker.
I try.
Before we move on, remember we were talking about how RoleCatcher can help tailor your answers?
Yeah.
So their AI can actually analyze your response to this specific question
Oh, wow.
and suggest ways to highlight your project management skills even more effectively.
Oh, that's great. It's so cool how AI can really give you that edge.
It really can. And it's just one of the many ways that RoleCatcher can help you land that dream job.
All right, well, I am ready for more questions,
I have a lot more.
but we'll have to wait for next time.
Yes, we will.
Stay tuned for part 2 of this deep dive on Import-Export Manager Interview Prep.
We'll be right back. Okay, so welcome back to our deep dive into acing this Import-Export Manager interview.
Yeah.
Before we jump into more questions, I think it would be helpful to step back for a moment and think about your career trajectory.
Okay, yeah, so we're kind of looking at the bigger picture.
Exactly. It's helpful to understand the typical career path in this field.
Right.
So, how can you progress from one stage to the next?
Yeah.
And RoleCatcher has a fantastic career guide that provides insights into, different job titles
Okay.
and responsibilities at each level.
So what are some of the common career stages?
So you might start as an import-export coordinator,
Okay.
handling like the day-to-day tasks, documentation, logistics, communication.
Okay.
As you gain experience, you can move up to an import-export specialist,
Okay.
maybe focusing on specific areas like compliance
All right.
or supply chain management.
All right.
And then from there, you could become an import-export manager, overseeing a team and handling more strategic decisions.
Okay.
And eventually you might reach the level of senior import-export manager,
Wow.
responsible for like setting the overall direction
Okay.
of the whole department.
So it's like climbing a ladder with each rung representing a new level of responsibility.
Exactly. And along the way, there are tons of opportunities for professional development.
That's great.
RoleCatcher highlights the value of certifications like the Certified International Trade Professional
Okay.
or the Certified Supply Chain Professional.
I've heard of those, yeah.
Yeah, they demonstrate your expertise and can give you a competitive edge
That makes sense.
when applying for more senior roles.
So it's not just about on-the-job experience, but also actively pursuing continuing education.
Exactly. The import-export field is constantly evolving, so staying ahead of the curve is crucial.
That's really helpful. It's like having a roadmap for my career, showing me the different paths I can take
Right.
and the milestones to aim for.
Exactly. And remember, RoleCatcher has specific guides for each of those career stages,
Okay.
offering tailored advice.
All right. I am feeling inspired.
Good.
Let's jump back into those interview questions
Okay, let's do it.
with renewed focus.
Okay, so let's tackle one that often trips people up.
Okay.
How do you ensure compliance with import and export regulations for electronic and telecommunications equipment?
Compliance. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big one. So it's crucial to stay updated on those ever-changing regulations, right?
Right.
So I would subscribe to industry newsletters, attend webinars, and even join professional organizations.
Okay, those are good ideas. What about if you're dealing with a new regulation that you're not familiar with?
Oh, yeah. I would definitely do my research consult with experts, reach out to my professional network,
Okay.
and even contact government agencies for clarification.
Those are really good ideas.
Yeah, you had to be thorough.
Yes, and speaking of being resourceful, RoleCatcher has some pretty amazing AI tools that can help with compliance too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. Their AI can actually scan your documentation for potential compliance issues.
Oh, wow.
And flag any areas that need attention. It's like having a virtual compliance officer.
Yeah, double-checking your work.
Right.
Oh, that would be so helpful.
It really takes a lot of the pressure off.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for another question?
Yes.
Okay, let's test your supply chain knowledge.
Okay.
How do you manage a supply chain for electronic and telecommunications equipment and parts?
Okay, supply chain management. So this is where it all comes together, right?
Right.
It's about orchestrating the entire process from sourcing those raw materials to delivering the final product,
Yeah.
coordinating with suppliers, manufacturers, logistics providers, and even retailers.
Right. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So what specific strategies would you employ to optimize the supply chain in this particular industry?
Okay, well, given the fast-paced nature of electronics and telecommunications, I think flexibility and responsiveness are key.
Okay.
I would focus on building those strong relationships with suppliers, diversifying sourcing options to mitigate risks,
Right.
and implementing real-time tracking systems
That's a good idea.
to monitor those inventory levels
Yeah.
and shipment progress.
Okay, so those are all great points, but what if there's like a sudden surge in demand for a product?
Yeah.
How would you adjust the supply chain to meet that increased demand?
Okay, well, agility in communication becomes super important.
Okay.
I would immediately contact my suppliers, assess their capacity, explore options for expedited shipping,
Okay.
and potentially even reallocate inventory from other channels
Okay.
to meet those immediate needs. It's about making quick decisions, adapting to those changing circumstances, and keeping everyone informed.
Wow, those are really great points.
Thanks.
You clearly have a solid understanding of the challenges and opportunities of managing a dynamic supply chain.
It's definitely complex.
It is, but it's also rewarding, especially in an industry as innovative as this one.
Yeah, speaking of innovation, I'm curious to learn more about how AI is transforming the import-export landscape.
Yeah,
We've talked about RoleCatcher's AI tools for interview prep and compliance.
right.
But are there other ways AI is being used in this field?
Oh, absolutely. AI is making its mark on everything from logistics optimization to demand forecasting.
Wow.
So, for example, some companies are using AI-powered algorithms
Okay.
to analyze shipping routes, weather patterns, and even traffic congestion
Oh, wow.
to determine the most efficient and cost-effective ways to transport goods.
So it's like having a super intelligent logistics manager
Totally.
that can crunch massive amounts of data.
Yeah, and AI is also being used to analyze historical sales data, market trends, and even social media sentiment
Oh,
to
wow.
predict future demand.
Wow. So it's like having a crystal ball that can predict consumer demand.
Totally. And it allows companies to anticipate fluctuations and adjust their inventory levels accordingly.
It's really amazing how AI is becoming an indispensable tool for import-export managers.
Yeah, it really is, and it's only going to become more prevalent. So if you're looking to stay ahead of the curve, embracing AI and learning how to leverage its power is essential.
I'm definitely adding that to my to-do list. Learn more about AI in import-export.
It's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you ready to tackle some more interview questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive
Okay.
into the world of import-export management.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground
We have.
from, those tricky interview questions to career paths
Right.
and even how AI is transforming the industry.
It's a lot to think about.
It is. But before we wrap things up, I want to touch on one more question that I think can really throw candidates off balance.
Okay, I'm listening.
How do you navigate cultural differences when working with suppliers and customers from different countries?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. Cultural differences can definitely be a challenge.
It's more than just knowing the language, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's about understanding those nuances of communication, business etiquette, negotiation styles.
Right. It's like a whole other layer of complexity.
Yeah, it can feel like a minefield sometimes.
So how do you even begin to prepare for that?
Well, I think it starts with awareness, recognizing that your way of doing things isn't the only way.
Right.
Research the cultures you'll be interacting with.
Okay.
Pay attention to things like communication styles,
Okay.
hierarchy, decision-making processes, even gift-giving customs.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, it can vary widely from culture to culture.
So research is key, but what about those unexpected situations where a cultural misunderstanding does arise?
Right. Well, I think open communication and a willingness to learn are essential.
Okay.
If you sense confusion or misinterpretation, don't hesitate to politely clarify and ask questions.
Okay.
And remember, it's a two-way street.
Right.
Your counterparts are also adjusting and navigating differences.
That's a good point.
So approach those interactions with humility and a genuine desire to understand each other's perspectives.
Right. It's about building those bridges, right?
Exactly. And don't be afraid to seek guidance from colleagues or mentors who have experience working with those specific cultures.
Right. They can be such a valuable resource.
They can offer those insights and tips that you might not find in a textbook.
Exactly. It's like having a cultural navigator
Right.
to help you avoid those potential pitfalls.
And remember, cultural sensitivity is not just about avoiding faux pas. It's about building trust and fostering strong relationships.
It's about the long game.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's tackle one more interview question that I think is really relevant to this topic.
Right.
Can you describe a time when a shipment was delayed due to a customs issue? How did you handle the situation?
Ooh. Customs delays a classic import-export challenge.
Yeah, it can be really stressful.
It can, but it's a great opportunity to showcase your problem-solving skills.
And your ability to stay calm under pressure.
Exactly. When answering this question, use that STAR method.
Oh yeah, the STAR method.
Briefly describe the situation. Outline the specific customs issue that caused the delay.
Okay, situation, got it.
Then explain the task you had to accomplish, highlighting the challenges.
Okay, situation, task,
Yeah.
and then action. Action, right? This is where you really get to show what you did.
Exactly. Describe the actions you took to resolve the issue. Did you contact the customs broker, provide additional documentation, negotiate with officials?
Okay,
Be specific and highlight those steps you took to get the shipment moving again.
got it. And then finally,
The result.
this is where you show the positive outcome.
Right. Did you get the shipment released? Quickly minimize the impact on the customer, quantify those results whenever possible.
Okay, so the STAR method is a great framework. But what about those unexpected twists and turns that always seem to come up in real life?
Yeah, well, that's where your adaptability and problem-solving skills really shine.
Okay.
Be prepared to discuss the challenges you encountered, the decisions you made,
Right.
and the lessons you learned.
It's all about learning and growing, right?
Exactly. And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can help refine your storytelling for these behavioral questions.
Oh, that's right.
Their AI can analyze your responses and suggest ways to structure those answers more effectively.
Okay.
Highlight those key accomplishments and make those stories even more compelling.
Wow. It's like having a personal storytelling coach in your pocket.
Totally.
Okay, so last question, I promise.
Okay, bring it on.
How do you ensure that imported electronic and telecommunication equipment meets quality standards?
Quality control, that's a critical one.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with those sensitive electronic devices.
Right. Faulty equipment can lead to safety hazards, customer dissatisfaction.
Yeah, it can really damage a company's reputation.
Exactly. So when answering this question, showcase your attention to detail
Okay.
and your proactive approach to quality assurance.
Okay, so how do I do that effectively?
Start by outlining your process for inspecting incoming shipments.
Okay.
Do you have a checklist? Do you use specialized equipment to test the devices?
Okay.
Be specific and highlight your knowledge of industry standards and testing procedures. So inspection is key, but what about preventing those quality issues in the first place?
Right, well, that's where your supplier relationships are really important.
Okay.
Emphasize your due diligence in selecting reputable suppliers
Right.
who have a proven track record.
Okay.
Talk about the importance of establishing clear quality expectations, conducting regular audits,
Okay.
and maintaining open communication.
So it's about building that culture of quality throughout the whole supply chain.
Exactly, and don't forget about documentation.
Right.
Mention the importance of maintaining those accurate records of inspections, certifications, test results.
Okay.
This not only demonstrates compliance, but also helps you track trends and identify potential areas for improvement.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From tackling those interview questions to exploring those career paths.
Right.
And embracing the power of AI.
It's been a journey.
It really has, and I hope our listeners feel empowered and ready to conquer that interview.
Me too.
But before we sign off, I just want to remind everyone about those amazing resources available from RoleCatcher.
Yes, they are a fantastic resource.
Their AI-powered tools can help you tailor your resume craft. Those compelling cover letters, practice your answers.
Right.
With personalized feedback, they even have specific guides for different career stages and certifications.
It's like having a whole team of career experts in your corner,
It really is.
guiding you every step of the way.
So what does this all mean for you? You're not just prepping for an interview, you're preparing to step into a dynamic and rewarding career in a global industry.
It's an exciting field.
And with the right tools, knowledge, and mindset, you can really unlock your potential. So go out there, ace those interviews, and make your mark on the world of import-export management.
We believe in you.
And remember, stay curious, keep learning, and never stop exploring. This is The Deep Dive signing off.